Довольно сложными и представляли для нас такой своего рода челлендж. И финальной точкой пятого фестиваля «Биомеханика» станет перформативный концерт. Наверное, вот всегда и от фестиваля «Биомеханика», и от проектов ЦИАМ ждут таких перформативных пьес, где соединяется музыка, театр и вообще различные виды искусства. И сегодня как раз такой концерт «Параллельные миры». Поэтому эта программа так и называется. Параллельные миры — это то, что создают композиторы, которые взаимодействуют с технологиями, которые раздвигают границы жанров, границы восприятия музыки и того, что мы подразумеваем под музыкой. И сегодня мы не только услышим и увидим перформативные произведения, но еще и сможем поговорить с авторами. К нам подключатся два композитора, Константинос Барас и Пьер Жодловски, которые расскажут и о своем творчестве, и о сочинениях, которые вы сможете сегодня услышать. Фестиваль «Биомеханика» — это фестиваль мультимедийной музыки, официальный партнер проекта — компания Дом РФ. Наш вечер будет устроен из двух больших частей. В первой части мы поговорим вначале с Константиносом, и вы сможете задать ему в конце нашего разговора вопросы. И затем мы исполним два его сочинения. Потом следуют небольшие такие перестановки, буквально пару минут или 5 минут, и мы продолжим. К нам присоединится Пьер Жодловски, и те же самые действия повторятся и с ним. Мы поговорим с ним, вы зададите свои вопросы, и мы сыграем две пьесы Пьера Жодловски. Для того, чтобы задать вопрос, нужно будет подойти вот сюда, к вот этой камере и колонке, потому что тогда в Zoom вас сможет увидеть композитор, и вы можете задать ему вопрос напрямую. Вы можете говорить на русском языке, задавать вопросы. Встреча будет проходить на английском. Вы наверняка получили наушники, если они вам нужны для перевода, и вы можете ими воспользоваться. Если вы задаете вопрос на русском, то я постараюсь помочь вам с переводом. Если же на английском, все гораздо проще. Ну что же, давайте начинать. И я вижу, что Константинос уже подключился. И наша беседа будет на английском языке. Good evening, Konstantinos. Can you hear us?
Hello, yes, I can hear you and see you.
Thank you so much for coming. We are very glad to see you. I would like to start from some general questions about your composer's practice. How did you start to compose multimedia pieces? Because, you know, our education, I think in different countries, it is the same. Our education is focused on music theory, on sonic studies, music history. And how did you start to experiment with lights, with video, with performance?
Very nice question, first of all. Thank you very much for having me again, and special thanks to Alexander Bedin for putting this together. So, in order to respond to this question, I need to speak a little bit about my influences when I start composing music a little bit prior. I start composing music and taking music seriously at the age of 18. And by that time, I already had my influences kind of established, which was metal. I was a big metalhead, black metal in particular, and techno, deep house and techno. Both of them have a common function, which is the energy that comes with this music. For me, I have been several times to Berghain, a club in Berlin, which I like to go, and the sound just hits you in the face. You know, you have this massive experience that is happening. I always wanted to become a musician and a composer, and when I entered the classical practice of music composition, the first thing that I felt that is missing immediately was this kind of aggressive energy that comes towards you when you are listening those two influences that I mentioned. For me, it's black metal and techno. But when I was writing music for instruments or when I was going to contemporary music concerts of some of my colleges, young back then, 21, 22, 23, I was missing that chaotic energy that comes from other types of music. So from very early, this idea, this little poison in my head, started growing and growing and growing until I entered to my PhD at Northwestern University in Chicago. I'm graduating this summer, by the way. And when I entered my PhD, I said, okay, I have some money secured because they pay you in order to be a PhD. It's a good time to start focusing on expanding your knowledge into some other fields. And therefore I started implementing live electronics, fixed media, and lights in order to provide to the audience a bigger experience, because I really felt that just the idea of an acoustic instrument in the contemporary music world, it can be enough, but it's not enough for me at least. So I felt the necessity of something bigger hitting you as an impact towards the audience. And the way of doing that, of transmitting that energy that I feel inside me when I'm thinking of music, was implementing more media. The timeline that I did that was 3 years ago. I started doing lights. Ritual, which is I think the first or the second piece when I performed in the program, was my second piece I made with lights. And Sirens is the last piece I made with lights. Did I answer the question though? I don't know. Or I went through a big story.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Great. And I would like to continue this topic. I was impressed by your compositional language because you really combine some very contemporary elements, like you taught about techno and metal and other genres. And you combine it with something historical, for example, historical plots, from Greek history. And it's very interesting connection, I think. It's, in a way, it reminds me The Rite of Spring by Igor Stravinsky, where turning to archaic elements became, at the time, a radical modern gesture. And do you see this combination of ancient and ultra-contemporary as a reflection of our present?
It is so crazy because I have over here exactly that note that I want to talk about. So yes, actually, you are very on point. So I like storytelling. I know that for some reason a lot of composers have stopped this idea of storytelling, but I always love a good old story. And I think music, which is a medium that, of course, you have the sound hitting you, but there's not a concrete shape in front of you, right? You are imagining the shapes. Having storylines, for me, it was always helping. So for me, I'm trying to connect that my thematology comes from two main topics. It is ancient Greek mythology and sci-fi, which is basically ancient Greek stuff, something primordial, combined with technology. And in the middle, this is where my world tries to stand. That comes from the thematology, from the costume that they're going to wear sometime, and on the overall energy and journey I want to take you when you're entering my world. Yes, and actually, both of them combined, if you redact the element itself and you see what's the connection, is the idea of uncanny. I'm trying to create uncanny environments. Uncanny basically means you are in the threshold of something is familiar and not familiar to you. But because you're right on this threshold, it keeps you interested. I don't know if that answers.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you also create several works in collaboration with dancers and performers. And how does this collaboration function in practice? Do you consider dancers as co-authors of the piece, or they just performance in such kind of works?
Very, very interesting question. I actually have to think about this. So I think it really depends on the project in that case, because sometimes you are hired to do a job And sometimes, so the choreographer has the piece ready in their head and they're asking you, hey, deliver what I imagine. Then I don't ask questions. I follow what they want Balkan, I will imitate Balkan. This is more of a work. So I just use tools that I have and I follow someone's guidance. And there are projects that are built from scratch with a choreographer. And this is when both of our creative minds combine together to create something bigger. I have done 2 main dance projects with a very, very nice choreographer, which happens to be my 4th cousin. And we managed to learn that we are cousins way later in life. We figured it out. Anyway, funny story. So I have done 2 main projects for dance with her, Vasiliki Bara. And the first project we did, we built it together from scratch. She was improvising. I went there she lives in Leipzig in Germany. And I went there and I stayed there for 10 days. We improvised together with some ideas. We started putting together the form of the piece and it happened. The second time we worked together, 3 months ago, she had some ideas fixed. And she told me, for example, I want now to be more techno. Deliver something that is more techno. It reminds of Alvanotto. It reminds of Luigi Chedda. So I had to do research to imitate basically a different style and add my personal character there. So those collaborations for me are both a nice reflection of what technically I can do, to see, can I deliver, if someone asks me to do something for Balkan, for example, can I do it? So I always like this challenge. That's why I love working with these people, because every time they have their own world and you try to see where you can fit in there, but also you can expand from yourself, because being a composer, it's a very lonely thing if you think about it. You're just you and a piece of paper at the end of the day, or you and a second screen and you're doing electronics. It's expanding this and collaborating with someone. You're putting your ideas into test, and also you're in collaboration, which is also very important.
And I think it's time to talk about the piece that we will perform tonight. The first one is Ritual for double bass, live electronics, and lights. And I also know that performer should wearing a costume. Yes. What does it mean for you, this visual presence of performance of musician, and how did you create such kind of piece?
So it touches on the environment. That's the simple thing. And I will be honest, when I made the decision about the Ritual, it was before I went to IRCAM. Because when I went to IRCAM, there was a big change in my life. Because I met Pьер Жодловски, which happens to be the next speaker. And he really altered the way I'm thinking, and he helped me push forward my ideas. So because that piece was written before IRCAM, I was thinking about adding more things like a costume. I was kind of skeptical. I played kind of safe, but at the end I liked the result and I said, I'm keeping it. So why the costume? First of all, we have a text. We have a text that I wrote, which is basically a small evocation towards Zeus. And the entire idea about this piece is how a pagan priest, the last of its kind, hypothetically, tries to wake up Zeus. And I said to myself, costume. He's gonna dress like a priest. So it was for me to make the idea way more clear to the audience. And this concept of making an idea clear for the audience started becoming fundamental to me and my music. What do I mean by that? I remember my teacher in my master's degree, Joseph Feinberg, told me that your idea needs to be that clear so the audience, the musicians will understand this, so the audience will understand this. Because the idea goes through several filters in order to reach the audience. So I was thinking in my head, if I'm thinking of this ritual and I give them something visual, like a small costume, that will amplify the concept, the core of the concept so much, without removing the seriousness of it, without removing the importance of the music or the importance of the lights, will make the idea just direct in your face.
Yes, it sounds great, and today we will see which kind of costume has our performer. I think you don't know, yeah? Because
it is kind of difficult to ship stuff to Moscow because of the sanctions and everything. So I think they came up with something very nice, but we're going to find out.
So let's talk about the second piece, Sirens, for sign language interpreter to synthesizer, live-electronics and lights. So you using sign language in this piece, how did you decide to work with it, and which kind of languages it is? Is it international language or some specific languages?
Yeah, perfect. So it is international sign language, and it was a small journey to make this happen, because once again I wrote a poem, and as I said before, I'm really story-based. I was searching for a story in order to compose, and I didn't start composing until I fixed what is the story in my head. And by the way, the story doesn't have to be like this guy went there and bought something. It can be a concept. What's the concept of it? And I came up with this idea that I have here my notes as well. I can read it. That creatures from ancient Greek mythology are trapped in the modern world, cursed by our almighty new gods to remain here forever, forced to witness how people erase them from their memories. In other words, I was thinking of sirens as those very sad creatures that are still live in this contemporary world, and because they haven't sung for years, they have lost their voice. And I was like, how can I make this idea amplified even more? By using sign language. And that's why I decided also international sign language, because that's what made sense to me in the moment. But now that I'm seeing this piece again, I'm thinking it can also work if it plays in a different country, the sign language can change. Maybe. I need to test it. But so I had to learn some basic things of sign language so I can go to Greece and speak with, let me tell you the name, Grigoris Petropoulos. It is a person from the deaf community who also speaks sign language, international sign language. So he helped me, we made the videos together, and it was nice because I felt like I'm doing field study before composing the piece.
And how did you fix such kinds of gestures? What kind of scores have performers? How can they learn this piece?
Videos. Videos is number one. So basically what I did is that Grigoris sent me the entire, at the end, I received a big video of the entire poem. And then my work began. I cut every sentence or every phrase in a small video. And let's say I wanted something to be in that tempo. I was stretching or compressing the video of the gestures so the performer can see the exact tempo of the gestures. And in the first performance, which happened in Paris, we had a lot of rehearsals, and I worked with the performer one-on-one, like we were finishing the rehearsal, then I was like, let's go in the studio and work exactly the tempo. And the good thing with the first performance is that we received a very nice documentation that now when you send to a different performer, they can see the tempo of the gestures.
Yeah, it's a very difficult process, and my question about sign languages was because Alexander Hubeyev also composed such kind of piece, but
Don't leave the room, right?
Yeah, but he used Russian language, and that because there are difficulties when you would like to perform it in other countries with people who speak different languages. So I think it's time for questions from our audience. So please don't be shy. Yeah. Please welcome to ask something. Yes. Yes, we have one.
Can you hear me? Yes. So my question is, how many compositions have you written before you realized you're on the right journey?
What do you define as the right journey?
Like you're following it now, like you're certain that it's for you. So for you, it's the right journey. Like right now, you've chosen it. So that's how I understand it.
You mean the direction that I'm taking with multimedia?
Not with the media, but with the composing itself. Because like generally, we always have this lots of uncertainties about which direction to choose just generally, and I'm talking composing, just about composing.
I understand. So when was the moment I realized I want to become a composer? That's what I kind of get from...
Yeah, like that you're certain that you want to follow this journey.
Thank you for the question. This is a very personal question. And the thing is that when I start realizing that when I'm not composing, I'm not feeling well. Because for me, composing is a very cathartic process, or it end up becoming a very cathartic process, like a confession that I was doing to the paper. And for me, composing is very simple. I have this chaos in my head, and I just need to drop it somewhere so I don't have it in my head. When I realized that this process started happening, this back and forth, I said composition, because it keeps me sane to a certain extent. That happened when I was confident about this, when I went to USA to do my master's degree on the age of 24, I will say. And yes, by that time I said, that's what I'm doing. I'm gambling it all to composition. I don't know if it's gonna pay out.
Thank you so much. Do we have another questions? Yes,
hello,
please.
Hello. Thank you for this conversation, and I'd like to ask you about, you told us about metal music, and it's still a part of your life now, or not? Metal music and others. I mean, it was important for you when you were younger, but now it's still important for you to listen this music and maybe playing or something.
Definitely. I'm listening to black metal every day, I think. It's not fun for anyone around me, but I just love the chaos. And actually, I get more ideas from listening to black metal now than when I'm listening to contemporary music. If I want to think about my music now, I play Mayhem, and I'm like, listen to what he did with his voice over there. And then I'm thinking what I'm gonna do with my piece. But when I'm listening, for example, Lachemann, which his music is amazing, for me, I don't get anything out of it. I'm like, okay, beautiful. But for me, black metal is like kind of meditation, and I'm getting ideas out of this. Like when I'm listening to a TJ set, for example, and I'm thinking how this person connects different pieces together, different tracks together, I'm thinking, I will do this. Not the notes, not the vibe and the atmosphere, but the essence behind what he did, the mechanism behind what he did gives me ideas. So I'm listening to it every day, yeah.
Okay, and what's maybe you have another source for the energy? What you talked that it's important for you to find this energy. Maybe it's not just music. Maybe it's nature or art. Maybe films or something.
Yes, I used to climb mountains. Not anymore, unfortunately. That was a big thing in my energy. It was really changing. The serenity of the mountains, it's magic, especially here in Greece. There are some very beautiful landscapes. Haven't done it for a couple of years and I'm missing it. And besides that, what else am I doing lately? Actually, I'm going to be honest. After IRCAM, I had a burnout. So now I'm just composing and I don't do anything else.
Thank you so much. And do we have another question? I think so.
Hi, thank you for interesting introduction.
Hi.
I'm wondering, you mentioned you're finishing up your PhD, so I'm wondering what's your PhD thesis on?
Okay, very fresh question. I have the answer ready. So I'm analyzing 4 pieces, 4 organs by Steve Reich, Poème symphonique by Ligeti, Recitativo, that's the 3rd piece, the 3rd part of Fama by Beat Führer, and Thalia by Grisem. And I'm doing the analysis, that's the first part of my PhD. And then I'm using my analytical findings as a source of inspiration to create max MSP patches that do not analyze the pieces, but they're using core elements of those pieces So the user can manipulate those elements and see how the piece can feel different if you change the values of it, if that makes sense. So basically, I'm doing a metaphorical computation, let's say, that I'm highlighting the main mechanisms of those pieces, and I create max MSP patches that imitate those mechanisms, and the user can alter the behavior of the patch, therefore seeing a different perspective on those pieces. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds great. I think our time is running out, and we should start the concert. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. And we are waiting for our musician, and we will start the concert. Thank you.
Should I leave the Zoom? Should I leave the Zoom call and go to the...
I think so, yes. You can watch the YouTube...
the live stream.
Yeah.
See you on the other side, everyone. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. See you. Bye. Концерт буквально через пару минут. Сейчас небольшая техническая перестановка. И в начале схема та же. К нам подключится Пьер Жодловски. Так что приготовьтесь к разговору, и мы будем рады вашим вопросам. А затем прозвучат два его сочинения. Good evening, Pьер. Can you hear us?
Yes, I do.
Thank you so much for coming tonight. We're glad to see you at the Biomechanics Music Festival. I would like to talk about your pieces that we will hear tonight. And for the beginning, I would like to start with some general question about your compositions and your methods. So my first question will be about multimedia, because most of your work written on the interaction of different media. I mean, visual and audio, between light, video, sounds. And I think for many listeners, this kind of music, perhaps we could call it expanded music, is not entirely familiar. So I would like to ask, in your opinion, what is exactly musical, exclusively musical in such multimedia pieces?
Well, this is a great question. First of all, I would like to say hello to everyone, to say that I am extremely happy to be with you now. Of course, I wish to be here in person. Hopefully it will happen in the future. So, I mean, this question is, in a way, it is a question and it's not a question, because I think the concept of interdisciplinarity, multimedia, so-called, is not at all to put different things together in a basket. At least it doesn't work like this for me, and I think most of the artists who started to work in this kind of dynamic understood it very quickly, that it's more about having a vision which can come from the music itself, and to just increase the potential of the different aspect of this music in order to increase the field of possibilities when it comes to perception. Konstantinos was mentioning about this already, so I will not repeat what he said. But for me, it's very important to emphasize the fact that I am a musician. This is the most important thing. I'm not a filmmaker. I am not a stage director. I am firstly a musician, but I am using those extended elements because they just correspond to some objective that I fix to myself and that I cannot achieve if I would use music itself. So at the end, when we observe projects like these, I remember recently I was making a seminar in Helsinki, and it was a guy who was asking me, but Mr. Жодловски, your pieces could be appreciated by a blind person. And this is a great question, of course. And I think that the answer is no, they cannot be fully appreciated because the visual dimension is extremely important. The lights, the video, whatever, the gesture, the theatrical attitude, how I am asking musicians also to be involved in the performance. But nevertheless, a lot of those elements are coming from the music, let's say, primary gesture or ideas. So, and just to finish with this, when we talk about editing videos or developing staging, it's also very interesting to do not forget that we are musicians and that we are doing, let's say, films or video arts with our musical practice, which makes us do very specific things. And I like this very much.
And do you like to work in collaboration, or do you compose all of these elements by yourself?
Question of collaboration, Konstantinos was also mentioning about this, and I think he answered properly. It really depends on the context. They are contexts which are favorable to develop collaboration if you have the time, if you have the budget, if you have a great team. in this case, it's fantastic. I would say that I did most of the project. I'm doing almost everything by myself, except when it comes to bigger scale, let's say large scale 1 hour or 1 hour and a half project, where I am generally working in the team. I don't have any strict rule with this. I love to work with people because it's enriching a lot my own practice. It can give me a new perspective, ideas. But for example, I'm not searching so much to work with choreographers because the question of body, when it comes to working with musicians, it's so specific. Musicians have already a body language. They have a body language. And I like to start from what they know to extend it instead of trying to make them become a dancer, which is very difficult. It's the same with acting. When you are asking a musician to act, it's always extremely difficult. And I think the answer for me is to stay a little bit in between the practices and to try year after year to develop my own way of guiding them, of trying to find solution. But just to finish with this, on the other hand, I am going very often to see dance project, new circus project, theater, films. So I am nourishing myself a lot with all those fields of art, which are then incorporated in my imagination and I can process them.
And could you please explain how do you work with performance? Do you come to them with fully formed ideas or specific tasks, or you just rehearse and you just try with them?
One more time, it depends. I would say that right now, I think that I have enough experience and I am also, when I'm writing a piece, for example, the trombone piece that we will listen soon, I was trying everything by myself, all the gesture with my arms or with an object. I don't have a trombone, but I was just trying, to see if it's possible to manage with this. And the score, the power of the score is something which is absolutely fantastic because we have something that choreographers or people from theater don't have, is that we have already a possibility to tame the time with the musical notation. And if we start to combine action, like theatrical action, raise your arms, turn left, turn right, have some facial expression like we just saw in the second piece, Sirens from Konstantinos, all of this, you can shape it in time. And this is extremely powerful to combine a graphic notation dealing with gestures with the power of timeline that we are able to manipulate with the standard classic musical notation. But of course, I love, when I can, I really love to work with people. I am writing right now a new project, experimental theatrical project with a pianist, and I will go and we will have a workshop, we will try out things, and for sure from the tryout, I will get some ideas. So it's always good in a way to, if it's possible, if you have the time, to work with people. This is basically why we are also writing music, is to be with people, it's not to just be alone. So yeah, definitely I can do it alone in most of the case, but I really enjoy if I can work with the performers.
Yet I think scores is a very important part of music. And how did you find the way to fix such kind of scores? For example, outer space. How does it look like?
Well, maybe the easiest way would be that I could show very quickly. It will take 1 second to show you a little bit of this score. I hope I can share the screen. Let me check if I have the authorization. Yes. No, I cannot for now. So maybe if it's possible, just give me a sign. Basically, in my scores, I am combining a very classical notation with pictograms. And I'm using pictograms, which are a graphic representation of the object or the action which has to be done. They are very simple, but it gives immediately to the performer an information about what he needs to do or what he or she will need to reach. So in the case of the trombone piece, there are several lines, and one line corresponds to the sound that the trombone player has to do. So it's quite classic notation. But above this, there is an information about if the trombone should be horizontal, up or down, so the inclination of the trombone. And then there is, it was quite difficult to find the good way. So I used the clockwise or counterclockwise system. And I am asking the performer to be, let's say, for example, 45 degrees on the left, which means like this, or 90, which will mean to turn completely back. So I'm cumulating different, let's say, lines, and each line corresponds to the different elements of the performance.
Maybe we need to explain a little bit, briefly introduce the piece, because there is a visual space created on the screen, and the performer, he's standing on the stage, and he is like, is it correct to say that he's like joystick for audience to explore such kind of visual space?
You can say that, but I don't like this joystick word. I need to tell the story about this piece because, you know, I had a commission for a trombone and I was a little bit embarrassed. I said to myself, okay, this is a nice instrument, but nevertheless. So I started to ask myself, what is a trombone exactly? And what can I, if I look at a trombone player, do I have something, another idea which would come to me? I looked at some photos of trombone performers. It was not very inspiring. And then I started to ask myself, okay, but what if I would carry the trombone down, not in front of me, but down here? And I saw immediately the figure of the cameraman. So this is probably what you will see in the very beginning of the piece. I am asking the trombone player to carry the trombone quite low and to move in front of us like somebody who would make a traveling. And that will create a kind of game rule between the audience and the performer, which is that as soon as we see this, we accept a fictional world. And in order to make this fictional world being concrete, the video that we see at the back shows a space, but the space is shown according to where is this trombone. So if the trombone moves from left to right, the landscape moves from left to right. So more than a joystick, it's more the metaphor or the idea that it would be a camera inside of the trombone, or that the trombone is a camera, therefore that the trombone player becomes a cameraman.
Yeah, it sounds great, and I think maybe one of the important mediums here is light also, because it works not only in video but on the stage too.
Yes, sorry, please.
Yes, and maybe we can also talk about the next piece, Mad Max, our final piece. Mad Max is written for percussion, motion sensors, electronics, video, scenography, and lights. So a lot of elements here. As we see, Mad Max, yes, it's referring to popular films. It's not the only one character who will be in this piece, but I don't want to spoil it. how did you come to the idea of creating this piece? Because it's something very theatrical. For me, this piece is not just concert piece. It's like music theater in many ways. What was your commission? Did you have any recommendations, or did you have complete freedom in these ideas?
Well, freedom is the only privilege that I have as an artist, so I'm trying to preserve it at all costs, whatever are the situation. I must say that before I will talk about this, that I am really, really looking forward what you will do with Mad Max, because it will be the first time, and this is great. I mean, I'm so proud in advance that it will be performed without me. So I am extremely happy about this. The context of this piece, I had a commission to work in Perpignan, in the small city in the south of France, where it was a little lab, and the guys, they were working with different motion sensors. And so they asked me if I would like to do a piece with this. The thing is that I worked with this type of sensors very long time ago with a dancer, and I could, at this early stage of my career, very quickly identify the limit of this kind of system, which can very quickly become and have this very bad aspect of the demo. Like, okay, you have a sensor here, you do this, and you change something, and after a few minutes, you have impression that you witness the demo of the sensors, that they are great to do this, but where is the art? So when I started to work on this project, I said to the guys, I will do it, but firstly, I need to find a good reason to use the sensors. And I was searching for characters. And I was searching because I knew that I will use the sensor on the hands. I was searching for some gestures which could have a real importance in terms of physicality and in terms of what is symbolized or what it creates in terms of narrative. Meaning that we will forget about this, that they are the sensors. And I was searching different type of gesture, and I came to this one, which is what you are doing when you are on the motorbike and you want to accelerate. And I said to myself, okay, great. This type of gesture, if I manage to put a motorbike, a biker, let's say, on the stage, in this case, the job is done, because people will see a biker, they will not see a performer with sensors. And so I started to think about which motorbike, which bikers I want to talk about. And the character of Mad Max came to me because Mad Max is one of the most horrible hero of the history of Hollywood. This guy is stupid, he's brutal, he's macho. It's a disaster, Mad Max, really. And I decided, because I like black sense of humor, I decided to make a piece in which I will put this Mad Max a little bit in trouble. So yeah, that's the story, the initial story of the piece.
Is it important that the piece is performed specifically by a percussionist? May it be like a violinist or pianist? I don't know.
Not really, because first of all, the first part requires very precise gesture coordination with the two hands, and the percussionists are really, let's say, perfect for this. And the last part of Mad Max is a solo of vibraphone. So basically, I couldn't imagine that a violin player could really play this piece. Of course, I am always open to crazy experimentation. So, I mean, you know, if a violin player would say, could I play Mad Max? I would say, why not? Let's try out and see what we can do. But I think definitely it's a piece for percussion, but which goes really far behind the standard percussion definition.
Thank you so much for your answers. So I think it's time for questions from our audience. And we're waiting for your questions. Just a second. Maybe we have a little break, and I would like to ask you, in one interview, I watched the interview with my colleague that was made, I think, 3 years ago or 2 years ago in Zoom too.
Yes.
And you told about art as entertaining, that art shouldn't be purely entertaining. So Mad Max is very theatrical, it's a very impressive piece, and there are a lot of extraordinary scenographic decisions. But do you see it as entertaining, or it's just a surface impression?
You know, one of the things that I like the most in artistical practice is the question of trap. To present something, saying, yeah, you see, this is this, and in fact, it's something else. I like very much Marcel Duchamp, the surrealist, in the way that they were twisting completely very strong definitions of the art. So for me, this piece has a double aspect. One aspect is indeed a very seductive aspect. Well, we will see how it will work later on. But yeah, you have a lot of elements. You see this biker, all of this is going on. And finally, the time is passing quite quickly and you could say, yes, it's entertaining. But when you dig a little bit inside of the piece, and you know that everything is, first of all, everything is written. The question of, it's not, there is no improvisation, there is no direction where, it could be a little bit like, okay, let's have fun. Everything is under control, and it's a paradox in a way. And it means that there is behind behind this, a very strong, let's say, statement when it comes to musical organization. I worked a lot in order to make all of those elements also be what I would try to call proper in terms of timing. And also there is a strong critique also about the consumerism, about those iconic elements. The second half is dedicated to a seduction. Mad Max will try to seduce the Gran Casa. What is going on there? What does it mean when it comes to relationship between people? So I think it is a potentially entertaining project, and it's developed in this way to be a little bit, full of colors and so on. But there is something much deeper, I think, behind it.
So I would like to ask our audience, do you have some questions, please? Yes, we have one question. Just a second.
Yeah, no worries.
You've started your presentation of the piece from describing that the instrument, the musical instrument, the trombone, you try to discover something unusual and experimental in the way it could be seen. And I wonder, is it a method for you while you are working on a musical piece to start from the instrument and see it from a different angle? And also, is there such a musical instrument that you would prefer to leave it just as it is in a classical way, that you would prefer just to see it in a very natural way? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. To be honest, I am not a person who, I don't have dogmas, I don't have strict rule. the thing I like the most when I compose is the question of experimentation. So I would not say that this is a method for me when I start a piece to say to myself, firstly, okay, what can I do in terms of visual aspect of this or this instrument? I have written a vast corpus of piano pieces which are very conventional in a way. There is electronic, but those pieces are not involving or almost nothing in terms of gesture or theatrical dimension. And I like it also to write pieces like this. So it depends one more time on the context, where these pieces perform, for who. They are people who, nowadays, they are a lot of performers, young performers who really like also to search about the body, what they can do. They are really willing to extend their practice to do not stay in a way a little bit stuck in the pure instrumental function. But it doesn't mean that the pure instrumental function is not relevant. It is still relevant. There are still a lot of possibilities. So one more time, I would come to my own freedom and the context, and it really depends.
Thank you. Do we have another question from our audience? I don't think so. No, we have one question. Yeah.
Please tell me which software or synthesizer or hardware you use while you're composing, and maybe you know which synthesizers use Konstantinos.
Konstantinos should answer. Well, I mean, for Sirens, because I was working with him at IRCAM, so I know a little bit. Mostly, he was doing everything in Max. So the synthesizer sounds, the synthesis that we listen are made mostly in Max, at least the one which are performed. Probably some other sounds can come from different sources. In my case, I stabilized my workflow years after years. Of course, 20 years or 25 years ago, I like to try out tons of different softwares, hardwares, and so on. But now I really enjoy some environments. I know them very well. And I don't really want to change because they are still working in a very good way for me. So basically, I am using Max MSP a lot at the very beginning and at the very end of the process. Very beginning, it means that I develop some patches in order to improvise or to create some sounds or to create synthetic sound in a specific approach. So I have a bunch of patches and I am manipulating them, updating them at the very beginning of the process in order to produce materials. Then I go to the Pro Tools environment, which is the editor that everybody knows. It's quite old editor, but as I started to work on this, I know this software. I mean, I don't even need to look at the keyboard, you know. So I'm very fast, very efficient with this. And I really like editing in the very classic way. And this is coming, you know, from an old experience that I had when I started to compose. I had the chance to do the music for the first film of Eisenstein, The Strike. And I was studying really a lot the question of editing. And editing, for me, the classic editing, like the cinema editing, is something which is very important for me. So Pro Tools works perfectly well for this type of classic editing approach. Then I'm using Sibelius for the scores, and then I'm coming back to Max, and in order to create the patches for the concert. And of course, in Pro Tools, I have a lot of virtual instruments, the one that everybody knows from Native Instrument, different synthesizer, but nothing really specific. What is specific is the elements that I'm doing in Max. And of course, sorry, I also have bass guitar, some few analog synths that I have here in my studio, and I am using them also as well.
Recording in progress.
Wow. Do we have another question?
Just a quick question. What's the percentage of randomization do you allow in your Maximus P patches, if any?
It depends. They are patches where the randomization reach 99%, and some patches where I'm using a little bit random in order to make things a little bit alive. But I like this question because, random, it's something which is for me very, very, very important. I'm very often starting my day with improvisation. Nowadays, I need to do yoga before because I'm getting older and my muscles, are because I'm sitting all the time. But after yoga, I'm going to improvisation, and I like it very much to expose myself to random processes which are changing so much according to your mood, according to the weather, according to what is going on around, according to a lot of factors. And I like very much to do not try to cancel the random in my life. I think random is one thing which is extremely precious. And I am a very curious person. I like to discover all the time things. And so it's really nice to see random as more in the according to my life. I mean, random is an element which has a very, very strong role. More precisely in the patches, I think I answer. I have some patches where I can input a little bit of randomization, and some other where it's really, I do something, I don't know exactly what will go out, but then I still choose when I'm pressing the button. So, this is still an action. Then what will come, nobody knows.
Is it correct to say that your improvising practice is like your daily routine or something for your compositions?
Yes, definitely. It's very important, and I would lie if I would say that I am improvising every day because I'm traveling a lot, I'm teaching, I am having a lot of performances. But when I am in the composition phase, like for example right now, these days, I always start, with a short or not short, it depends, improvisation, and generally I am recording. And sometimes I identify some very interesting elements and I take some notes. I can keep them immediately and deciding to use them for this project. But I have also some bins of impro where I put a lot of, let's say, raw materials, and I know that I can come back to them. I remember I had to face in my life few times difficult moments where I was very angry, and it was helping me really, really, really a lot. And sometimes I'm coming back to those sounds because I know that I was extremely angry and that they are very, very strong. And as Konstantinos was saying, it's cathartic function to compose, to write, to play, to improvise. So all of this is part of our life in a way.
Thank you so much. And I think we don't have questions anymore. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. And we are waiting for your new pieces. And we're glad to hear and we're glad to start our concert. It is the second part of our concert. So thank you so much, Pьер. And let's start the concert.
Thank you very much. I will, of course, switch immediately to the live stream of the concert. So I will be still with you during all that time. Thank you so much to have hosted me. Thank you for the audience, and see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So just